Developing evaluation instruments to improve your instructional design. Part 4, Observations and Field Notes. Aloha, I'm Dr. Catherine P. Fulford, Professor of Learning Design and Technology at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. I'd like to provide a special thanks to all those faculty who contributed content, and to Mike Saunderson, my video editor. This is a 5-part video series, starting with Part 1, Questionnaires and Surveys, Part 2, Pre- and Post-Test, Part 3, Interviews and Focus Groups, Part 4, Observations and Field Notes, Part 5, Usability Protocols. This is Part 4, Observations and Field Notes. When you're conducting an observation, be sure to use your senses. What you see, hear, smell, taste, and touch could all be important. You'll need to compare observation types to figure out what you want to do. There's the qualitative side. This is more open-ended. It'll help provide a complete description, though it takes a more extended time to conduct. It helps you derive hypotheses. It uses narrative and words. A quantitative approach is more structured. It gives you a numeric summary. It usually takes less time. It begins with hypotheses and uses checklist and count. There also might be unstructured observations. These will help provide insight into interactions that you see. It'll help illustrate the whole picture. It captures context and process. It informs you about the influence of the physical environment. Notes are descriptive, thick, deep, and rich. Always separate the description from your own interpretation and judgment. Observation protocol is important, starting with Step 1, what to observe. Think about your purpose statement and research questions. Step 2, how to observe. You want to define clear observation criteria. What are you looking for? You can't observe everything. Step 2, how to observe. Here's some examples for how to observe. Student engagement might include performs hands-on activity, discusses task-related issues with peers, or listens to teachers. The non-examples of student engagement would be plays, passive, and bored. Step 3, decide on an observation approach and create an observation protocol. Do you want to use whole groups, small groups, or individuals for your observation? Do you want to look at time intervals, that is how often, frequency, how many, or checklist, just yes and no? This is an example of an observation tool for measuring group collaboration. At the top, you put your observer's name, the course you're observing, and the dates. Notice that there are sides for both on-task behavior and off-task behavior, and it tells you at the bottom what those are for. On the side are team names. Sometimes it could also be student names. Field notes. These are notes taken by the researcher during observation. There's a descriptive component that answers who, when, what, where, and why. It describes the setting, the people, the interactions, and events. There's also a reflective component that provides observer inferences and comments, impressions, reflections, interpretations, feelings, speculations, and so on. Comments on the research methods, decisions and problems, ethical issues, etc. Mulhall's field note components are structural and organizational features, people, process of activities, special events, dialogue, chronology of events, personal or reflective notes. It includes thoughts on being in the field and reflections on one's own life experience that may influence the observation. Ways to record field notes. They can be handwritten. You can use a word processor. You might take audio recordings or video recordings. You can have photographs. You might use a smartphone or digital pens. Observation advice. Be detailed, not general. Record everything you see, hear, and experience. You never know what might be important. Avoid a session of more than 2 hours. Take notes during or immediately following the observation. Artifacts. There are many types of artifacts. You want to have something that has evidence of growth and learning. They should demonstrate skills, ability, experiences, attitudes, or competencies that are your goal. Artifact evaluation can be procedural, such as watching the steps a student takes to turn on and put data into a digital spreadsheet. It can also be the product itself. So, for example, the product that's a spreadsheet with all the correct calculations. You can use a checklist to make sure all of the requirements of an artifact will be assessed. Aloha and mahalo. Now it's time to watch our next video, Developing Evaluation Instruments to Improve Your Instructional Design, Part 5, Usability Protocols. You can search YouTube for Catherine Fulford to find more of my videos on learning design and technology.